Last time on Dragon Ball Z.
Avengers! Dissemble.
And now, the conclusion.
I'm still balding. I gotta cover that up. This might be a bit too much. I have an idea. Perfect. That sounded weird in my head. This just looks dumb. I gotta go comb my beard. I think the cat moved the fucking camera. I can't tell if that's focused or not. Damn it. I'm back. Great. Alright, this is a review of Avengers Endgame, because that came out, and I saw it really freaking early in the morning, because I don't want spoilers. So, normally I work Thursday nights till like whenever in the morning, balls o'clock, like 4 or something. And I scheduled my ticket for 9 a.m. at a local theater, because I didn't want anything getting spoiled. Did I say that? So I saw it with like no sleep. It was great, because I went to the theater like way too early. It took not nearly as long as I thought it would even get there. I got there at like 8:05, and that includes like peeing and buying snacks and getting into my seat. Because I didn't want anybody to steal my seat, because I knew like I would get there and somebody would be like, I just wanted a better seat, so I took your shit. But I didn't let that happen, and nobody was confused about their seats. Society is getting better about scheduling seats. Hey, Mike. I did it once. So the previews kicked in, and they were actually some pretty good previews. But I'm not here to review that. I only brought them up because halfway through The Lion King, they crapped out, and we sat there for about 10 minutes, and then they restarted all of the previews. And we had to sit through them all again, including Will Smith fighting poorly acted, disgustingly CGI'd, younger, sadder Will Smith. Ah, that's hot. And then the movie started, and it was good, and I liked it. Maybe I should summarize it better. So it starts off with Hawkeye, like in the trailer, as it did in the trailer, with his family. And he's helping little Hawkeye girl shoot an arrow, and he's having fun, and then he turns to get a Bepis or something, and they all disappear. And then, after that, the other Avengers are like, hey, so we're gonna storm Thanos and take the gauntlet back. And get the stones and use them to undo what he did. Because we were able to fight him so well when he got 3 stones, let's just go rush him when he's got them all. It was just a dumb plan. I guess because they thought Captain Marvel showed up, so maybe they could actually win now, even though Thanos was like omnipotent. So they get a reading that he's used the stones again, and they get to his farmhouse thing, like in the comics, because in the comics he retired and became some weird papaya farmer or something. In the movie he was farming some weird shit. They get to his house and his arm's all jacked up. They're like, hey, give us the stones because we want to undo what you did. And he's like, sorry, they're gone. And they're like, hey, why? And you find out his arm's all jacked up because the reading they got from him using the stones again was him using the stones to He used the stones to blow the stones to hell. I guess you can do that. They're gone. He just annihilated them. Sorry. Then Thor cuts his fucking head off. Also, they cut his arm off too. They were not playing around. They start by laser blasting him, and then Thor uses Stormbringer to cut his arm off that has the gauntlet, I think. Yeah. Maybe? I don't know, one of his fucking arms gets lobbed off, and then he gets his head cut off, and Thor's like, I went for the head this time. And he's all depressed because he didn't do that before, so he feels like legitimately bad. And I don't think this was Marvel backtracking like when Superman destroyed everything and DC backtracked and made him feel all sad and shit in his next movie, because these movies were filmed back to back. So then they're like, okay, let's go live for 5 years, because they predetermined they would live for 5 years in depression, until a rat accidentally frees Ant-Man from the quantum realm, and he comes out and he's in a storage unit with his van, and then he goes to Avengers HQ, and they're all like, hey, you're back. And they were all happy to see him and stuff, but it's still only one person out of like half of all life forms in the universe that turned out to not be dead. Did you survive this snap because he was in the quantum realm? They didn't really ever answer that. But instead, he says, hey, it was only 5 seconds for me, because everybody's like, that must have been a grueling 5 years down there. Correction, he says, no, it was only 5 hours, because time is different in the quantum realm. So then he posits that they can use the quantum realm to time travel. And everybody's like, oh, that's actually a plan. Better than rushing Thanos when he's got the whole fucking gauntlet. So then they go and gather people, and like they bring Captain Marvel. They get, no wait, she already fucked off. Did I even watch this movie? They get Hawkeye. Eventually everybody gets together and they decide to go back through time to each point where each stone ended up in the Marvel Cinematic Universe in their various movies. And they get them, and they bring them together, but then Thanos notices them because Nebula goes to Morag, where the Power Stone was, and that gets her too dangerously close to the other Nebula. And so they end up on the same cyber neural network, and it causes a feedback thing between them. And Thanos is like, is that future Nebula trying to get the Power Stone? Let's use that to our advantage. So they swap them. And then that allows evil past Nebula to summon Thanos to the future. And he's all like, I saw what you fucks did to this Thanos from your timeline, and now I'm going to just erase everything and make it better from the start, because there's too many of you assholes clinging to the past and wanting to undo what future Thanos did. Which, go figure, half of all life was erased. Did you not think the other half might want to do something about that? You bingus? And a little sidebar, time travel works weirdly in this movie. Like, fucking voice crack. Like, is my beard balding? Bearding? If you go to the past and mess with something, instead of it changing your present time, it just creates a branch where there's your changes. So when past Thanos came to the future, he was now a different Thanos, more or less. And it resulted in a big, awesome fucking battle, and it was great. And, oh yeah, just before that, once they had all the stones, they had this sweet Iron Man gauntlet designed to hold the stones. But that's racist. It wasn't necessarily an Iron Man gauntlet, it was just red and gold, and made by Iron Man. So the Iron Man gauntlet's got all the gems in it. Hulk's like, I'll use it, because I'm the only one that could survive it. Which makes Thanos even more of a badass, because he could just wear the gauntlet with all the stones and have no real issues, until he decides to use it to blow itself up. So Hulk snaps, and everybody gets brought back. And, like, right when they're appreciating it is when past Thanos launches missiles at their headquarters and just starts the big battle. Which was fucking amazing, because Thanos didn't even have any of the Power Stones yet, because they're kind of playing keep away with the gauntlet at this point, like the Iron Man one that has all the stones. And, what is it, Thor, Captain America, and Iron Man are fighting Thanos, while everyone else is kind of half dead from his missile attack. And all he's got is like a double-sided staff sword thing, and he's holding his own really well. Like, he was smacking the shit out of them all. And he's actually got them kind of against the ropes until at, like, one point, well, even when, this one point where Captain America, Thor's about to get Stormbringer shoved pretty much right where Thor shoved Stormbringer in the last Thanos. That's a sentence. And you see the hammer start moving, because, well, I forgot to mention, Thor brings Thor goes to see his mom, and while he's doing that, as he's about to leave, after he gets the Reality Stone, he summons Mjolnir from that time, and he's like, hey, I got my hammer, bye. He just leaves with it. So that Thor didn't have a hammer. It's a great review, and it's about as muddy as the fucking timeline. That's why Mjolnir's in this battle, along with Stormbringer. Thanos is shoving Stormbringer into Thor, then all of a sudden you see in the distance Mjolnir... I hate this camera. So Mjolnir starts moving, and you think it's... Well, I thought it was Thor using it, because it makes sense, he had been using both. And all of a sudden it flies to Captain America, and Cap starts fighting with Mjolnir, and it's pretty awesome. And it seems like it's turning the tables. But then Thanos, being the beast that he is, still ends up pretty much almost killing them. And the funny thing is, like, throughout this entire movie, Thor is a big chungus, because he was all depressed about not going for the head and letting Thanos ruin the universe. And they never, like, go back on that. They, even when he, in the dramatic moment where he has Mjolnir and Stormbringer, and he summons his armor, he's still got, like, a big pot belly. His physique is kind of like mine, where he's all super muscular and chunky, like this. I was proud. I almost wasn't going to wear my pants for this review. Thanos is winning, and Cap, like, it has the coolest scene ever, which I'll get more into later. Cap stands alone against Thanos as he summons his entire army, and then all of a sudden, you hear Falcon chime in on Cap's headset, and he's like, Cap, on your left. And then a bunch of portals open up, and a big war happens between the good guys and bad guys. Like, all the good guys are reunited, except for a bunch that died. And all the bad guys are basically back from the past. Like, Thanos' bad guys. And a bunch of big weird mutant things he has now. And so they all fight, and then eventually... Oh, I forgot to mention Black Widow died so that she could give Hawkeye the Soul Stone. So anyway, on that note... So anyway, the battle pretty much concludes when Thanos still ends up with the gauntlet, because he's a fucking badass. Like, he puts on the Iron Man gauntlet that has all the stones, and it starts powering him up. And then he looks over at Dr. I forgot his fucking name. Doctor Strange, who had just before told him, I can't tell you if this is one of the outcomes where we win, because then it won't happen. But he looks over at him, and Doctor Strange is like, holds up the... He's like fighting some weird tidal wave back, and he's slowly like lifts the one finger to kind of let Tony know, like, yeah, this is the moment, or the one outcome where we actually win. So then Tony's like, alright, well let me go rush Thanos when he's got all the stones. And he does, and he grabs Thanos' hands as he's about to snap. It, like, because it's the Iron Man gauntlet, and he's got the Iron Man suit on, it uses like his weird nanoprobe thing to basically suck the stones into his own glove. Because he pushes Iron Man back and then raises his hand to snap, and he does it, and he's like, I'm inevitable. This was always gonna happen. And then the snap does nothing because the gems got sucked out. So then Iron Man like shows his hand as the gems are settling, which was pretty cool. And he's like, yeah, well, I am Iron Man. Which he's like dying as he's saying this because the gems are killing him. And then he snaps, and it was pretty cool. It just erased Thanos' army. Like, everybody was dead again. And then Thanos just kind of sits down and is like this. It's actually a really good representation. That's my phone. Then he's like dying, or he turns into a poo cloud. I mean, the fucking voice cracks. Hydrate more, Dippy. So yeah, everybody turns into poo gas from the bad guy side, and then meanwhile Iron Man is all, well, dying. He's pretty much dead by this point. He's laying there kind of, he's like, he doesn't even really say anything. I think he gets one more line out, and it's I think he's saying I'm sorry or something, and then he just dies. And then they have a funeral for him. Even the kid from Iron Man 3, who's like kind of grown up now, is there. And it was sad. But nobody really has a funeral for Black Widow or Vision. Or Gamora. But past Gamora came and took her place, sort of, but she's not dating Quill. She just kind of takes off, and you could see he's like stalking her. Because Thor, all of Asgard is like now living in Norway or somewhere, which he gives over to the Valkyrie and makes her the king, while he goes and joins the Guardians, and they make jokes about knife fighting to establish who the new leader is or something, and he's still kind of a chungus. Which was pretty nice. It was like a body positive thing. Nobody ever really acknowledged it after, like, fat shaming him at first, but after that, it was all good. And did I mention the Hulk was Professor Hulk? That's kind of a big deal. They established that during the 5 years, Thanos had beaten both Hulk and Banner, so in the 5 years since, they decided, like, hey, let's get together and fuse, and I guess gamma radiation was mentioned, too, being used to, like, help them merge, because I think they're permanently Hulk, Banner, Professor Hulk. You only ever see Mark Buffalo again when he goes to get the time stone from the old one. Is it Tilda Swinton? Who is it? She's bald. Yeah, she like pushes his soul out of his body and then they talk. And he's like, Doctor Strange gave the time stone away originally because of some plan. And she's like, oh. Well, he probably did have a plan then. Here you go. And also the whole reason she gives it up, because she further cements that giving away the stones will cause branches where bad things happen in each time they take a stone from. But then he's like, oh, we'll just return them, I promise. So, oh yeah, that's right, Cap goes to do that. And he does. And then he decides to just live in the past and be an old man in the present. Which I thought, I'm so confused about time. If he did that, wouldn't he be old in another timeline? Or did he actually teleport? I think he teleported back, because they said he missed his timestamp, so I think he lived his life out and then came back. Because they were using like Pym particles and shit to go really small into the quantum realm. And also, I forgot another major thing, Iron Man's the one that like helped them solidify things, because he was entirely against doing anything to try and fight Thanos again, because he actually had a daughter now, and lived out by a river with his now wife or girlfriend. I don't know if there's enough society for them to be married. But yeah, he had a family life, and he really wasn't looking forward to like throwing that away. But he's just sitting there, and he's like, yeah, you just gotta loop some shit, and then we'll be able to go through time. Because before that, it was like, they were testing it on Ant-Man. He was becoming young, old, and it wasn't working. But yeah, that was the movie. It was a pretty good movie. I liked it overall. I'm now to get to the review part. I might split this. If I do... Yeah, it's gonna be a long fucking video if I don't. I'm splitting this shit. So see you in the next one.